Hi everyone, Joel at Codebreak with another episode of Break It Down, and today we've got a very special guest. Pleased to welcome Head of Content from the Prince's Trust, Jake Buchanan. We're going to be chatting about content creation. How you doing, Jake?
I'm all good. Even better for hearing you, Joel. Love your AM radio voice.
Do you? Yeah, exactly. Suddenly,
AM radio.
full voice projection. Hi, it's Joel, Codebreak.
Apologies, I'm shifting around my chair. There we go. Cool.
I suppose we should explain, because you're already ripping me 30 seconds into the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
That you actually know me. That you're not a stranger guest. And
no, it'd be a bit weird if I came on just completely, ripping.
Hammered me early doors.
Way back, Joel. I mean, yeah. I think my first memory of you properly was when we went camping. I knew you before, in school and stuff. Disclosing my age, I'm in my mid-30s now, about to enter my late 30s, I might add. So, we're going back a bit. And, I knew you from school, but, the camping trip was when you sealed your intimacy to me. And I thought, I need to hang around this guy a bit more. Because you brought, your survival instincts kicked in. And you kind of went full hunter-gatherer, and you just kind of...
I brought all the food. Number one on food, and then when the food and drink was stolen from us by some other camping guests, I went full protectionist as well.
I like how you were all camping guests. That wasn't the language you used back then.
No, it began with C and ended in T. Yeah.
Yeah. I swear, man. I remember looking in your tent and just seeing these stacked to the roof of tins. I don't even think you had a bloody tin opener.
No one had a tin opener.
Sorry, memory lane.
Yeah, well, it's important, people need to know my character, and at 16 years old, camping in a field with you, someone decided to invite some real boys, some adults. They bullied us, and I decided to defend our honour.
And full disclosure, you're a good few years younger than me.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the hell, I don't even know how you turned up. You was there, in Wales.
No, we worked together in the supermarket. That was the
man, yeah, if we're going down this road, then we got some ground to cover. Yeah, of course, we both worked in co-op together as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it.
But I would say, out of everyone, there's been a few people I can count on my one hand that have kind of helped me in my career. I do feel like you're definitely one of those people. I feel like growing up, there was a kind of collective of kind of creatives that kind of ran together, and I guess
we're really fortunate that from our group of friends as teenagers, obviously you're head of content at the Prince's Trust. We've got another friend who's doing well in the video game sector. We've got a guy who's head of PR for a really big regional housing company.
Yeah, I think the main thing for me was what I was kind of saying, whether you want to hear it or not, thanking you. I guess I don't say enough. It's more when I had a harebrained scheme or an idea,
always on board,
full in, push those chips in. And even recently, going back a few years, we worked together on a music video. It was a good few years ago now, I guess. But I feel like they're the kind of people that you need to surround yourself with. Especially when you grow up in a rural environment like we did, of course there was the internet and everything, but we were kind of making it up as we went along.
You got two options in that situation. One is do what everyone else does, which is fine. I completely can see the comfort of that, or completely go rogue like me and you. So. Yeah,
I remember coming around to your house to press T-shirts for the record label that I was starting at the time. I don't know. I feel like when you want to do stuff, you just have to kind of do it. And I think it's hindsight's a beautiful thing. I can look back and think, wow, that was really beneficial for my career. But nobody's thinking that. When I was doing this stuff, I didn't think that. I just want to have fun.
I suspect most people thought we were crazy.
Yeah, and there was definitely a mentality where we grew up of stupidity, but stupidity that fed creativity. And we weren't harming anyone, we weren't bad dudes, but we were known as being just a bit loose, real loose.
Yeah.
Just like the kind of class clowns that just didn't really grow up out of that.
It's haunted me like the rest of my adult life because people don't understand our sense of humour. And they just think tricky. Like we're constantly being sarcastic. And it's like, oh no, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being serious. I'm going to do that.
The problem is, mate, you probably don't take much hiding it. And I certainly don't. Every time I start a new job or start a new career or I move city, I think, right, this is the time to put that tie on and carry a briefcase around, and it never happens.
Alongside my business partner, I've built a company in that image now. This is who we are, like it or lump it. So.
And it is refreshing to see. Like, I think like a couple of years ago when you made a change to kind of bring more of yourself into a company, I think it's very refreshing to see. You're definitely one of the first companies I saw doing that, which is really cool. I know it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. I think it's interesting. I think whenever I choose to work with people, I think I always look at their kind of what's around them rather than what they're doing. Because I mean, just talk about my job real quick. Because if I have to interview,
what's your day job? That's a good start. What's your day?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Get all this memory lane out of the way. Well, I guess what I was going to say is, following on from that, is when I was interview people, then I don't, at the trust we want to try and give people a bit of a start, right? They may not be the finished product when they work with us, or we may even hire young people that we've helped. It doesn't happen that often, but if I'm hiring somebody, I'm always going to be looking at like what they've done outside of work rather than what obviously their career matters, don't get me wrong, but if they'd come to me and said, look, I've created a music video that's like this, and they show it me, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. How long does it take? Oh my God, it took you the shoot took 24 hours or whatever. And they tell me a story behind it. I think, okay, this person's got something a bit different. But yeah, my day job, I guess, just to explain what I do, is I am first and foremost a video creator. So I make and produce videos, still hands on the camera. I still film everything myself, but I have a team now that I work with me, and I go from working with the marketing team and the digital team and make sure that we have content to produce what we need to do to tell our stories, and our stories are generally talking and helping young people come onto courses, inspiring others, and making people. It's
really interesting you've ended up where you are, because if you think about us as kids, we were the kind of the sort of young people that had ideas, but perhaps didn't have the guidance or the people around us to help mold those ideas. So we were freestyling it a little bit. And
100%.
Now you work for like the UK's largest charity that literally mentors young people.
Well, yeah, I mean it's crazy, and I think that my mum, when I got the job. My mum reminded me that I actually got helped by the Prince's Trust in like just before I went to uni, because long story short, I wasn't academic. I was a doer. I wasn't academic. I've got crippling dyslexia, and it always went in my way. But I think the one strength I had was more like I knew that I wanted to be creative. I didn't really know what that meant, but I was punching above my weight, and I signed on to university degrees, and I kept getting rejected the whole time. And I signed up for LIPA, Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts, because at the time I really wanted to be a music producer, because I still do in my spare time, but I wanted to be a music producer. And I noticed that the course entrance fee was like $5,000 a year. And obviously this is going back like 2003, 4. So it was essentially private tuition, which my family couldn't afford. My mum was a single parent. Is a single parent, and I didn't know what to do, so I applied for a grant, and that grant came from the Prince's Trust, and they actually helped me secure a couple of thousand from my local government in Shropshire to put down some course fees. I then had to work for a year in Co-op. I think that's when I met you, to then get my rest of my year secured with housing. But I worked myself to get that money, and bless her, my mum got out a bank loan from Barclays and helped me pay for that year of education. That's where it all started for me.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, the Prince's Trust helped me back in the day. I didn't even realise. My mum told me when I got the job, and I told the director at the trust, and He nearly shit a brick.
Really?
Yeah, because we always want to tell young people stories, success stories, like if they've got a job or if they've started a business or whatever. And he was like, yeah, get yourself on camera. I was like, nah, not happening, mate. Not happening. I'll film other people, thank you very much.
That is not the attitude.
I know, yeah, head of content, ain't doing it.
I'm behind the lens, not in front of it.
Yeah, look here, pal. I'll wear my scarf and my beret.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's been interesting, and I do think about it quite a lot. And I think, I'm not done yet. There's still a load of things I want to do, but I think it's been quite nice thinking about it the last couple of years. About it, I think the trust has made me feel that, because I deal young people all the time. I think I look at some of them and go, geez, man, like I was you. Like all you need is a little bit of direction, and you've got it.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I don't know.
I love that. I love that in our company. We've got an apprentice at the moment. She came for work experience a couple of years ago. And when a position came up here, it was too senior for her, but I interviewed her anyway because she had that hunger, that look in her eye of basically wild creativity. And then we made a role for her because you can't buy that.
No.
It's just amazing when you find these people who they get their kick in life from just making stuff.
Yeah, and so many doors are. I mean, it's that eternal problem of, have you got experience? No, I need to get it. And I am a huge champion of just getting people where they need to be. There's a whole lot of pretenders out there, but when you find someone that has got a bit of something in them, that's something it goes a long way for me. And I don't know, it's just weird. I guess like it all kind of, one hand feeds the other, doesn't it? You've got to help people, and they'll pay you back. That's the thing. They'll always pay you back. Like, if you help somebody out, I do feel like they may, hopefully they're going to surprise you and they're going to work for it a bit more.
They'll come on a podcast with you 15 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Mate, this isn't a chore. I'm just chilling out, man. I've got my tea sorted out. I've got my Game of Thrones mug here full of tea, although it's pretty damn cold.
Nice. Game of Thrones. Okay. Game of Thrones comes up a lot in our office. You've sprung it now.
Yeah. I don't want to get into an end of debate about season 8. Can we just forget it existed and then we go from there?
Okay, fine. Because I do that thing now where if you're watching late night TV, quite often Game of Thrones is on now, but it'll be like season 4 or season 5. And
that was the peak.
So good.
Absolute peak.
So good at that point. The dialogue is amazing.
I think it started to go, for me, it started to get a bit weird. I mean, by the way, can you put some kind of spoilers thing in here or something for people?
Oh, it's too late now. If you haven't
All right, okay. Well, when Jon Snow came back from the dead, that's when it started getting a bit messed up for me. Because I'm just not a fan of... I always think in media, dead means dead. I generally believe that. Unless you're dealing with me and with the films that I write, you go through some kind of time and space continuum. But that's a different thing.
Yeah.
You can stay dead. You can't stay dead. No, hang on a minute. What am I trying to say? You should stay dead unless you go through a time loop. That's just my opinion. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Parallel dimension. If you die and go into a parallel dimension, absolutely fine by me. Makes complete sense.
If you come back to life through the hands of a witch, you're not happy.
Yeah, not into it. Let's start. I really don't. I can't get down this path, Joel. I think like everybody. I think I can speak for the whole of the UK here that this topic has been wildly exhausting. I just don't know where to go with it. I think that it was a fantastic program. And the one thing I would say though, when it comes to production and video production, I mean, I don't know if you watched any of the behind the scenes stuff. I used to watch them religiously week after week. In fact, they were probably my favourite parts of some of the later parts of the Series 8 because I didn't enjoy the story, but I marvelled at the production. And
my favourite behind the scenes episode is the one that talks about how they did the scene where the dragon attacks Jaime and Bronn. They've got like a big long carrot. I think they're transporting the money from the Iron Islands back to King's Landing, and they're next to a river. And Daenerys attacks them, and Bronn has to throw Jaime into the river. and how.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you mean. Yeah, and similarly, the Battle of the Bastards production talk was amazing, and actually the second episode where the walkers finally attacked Winterfell.
Yeah, and it's at night. Yeah,
that I mean, I can't believe that stuff can happen. Like, there are all those night shoots for like 3 months. Like, so I do get a bit pissed off when people get a bit like, oh, fuck them, like, you ruined my, these people literally, like, they killed themselves to bring you this. Obviously, the story writing is the thing that let it down. One thing I would say, though, I actually know someone who was an extra.
Yeah, so do we, actually. That's interesting.
Classic, like, he was just one of the grunts that gets killed over and over. And I think his whole thing was, if you haven't been seen prominently in a scene, you can come back in and get killed again.
Yeah. See, we worked with one of the stunt doubles.
Right, yeah.
She was always injured. Always. Because just they were pushing the boundaries constantly. I
mean, I love behind the scenes movie stuff, and I guess like it comes with the territory of my job. One of the, if people that are listening to this are really interested in behind the scenes video production, I'd say the best documentary, hands down, would probably be Heart of Darkness for Apocalypse Now. I think that the making of Apocalypse Now is probably more interesting than the film.
The film's hard work.
I mean, the film's brilliant. I really like the film. I don't watch it very often. But Stanley Kubrick in that, like, holy hell. No, Francis Ford Coppola, sorry, Stanley Kubrick. Francis Ford Coppola. It's all shot from his wife, and she details it, like, as it happens. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I think that when I saw that at uni, because I just downloaded, I mean, full disclosure, I just torrented the hell out of things at uni. I think everybody did. Don't do it now, by the way, don't do it now. I just don't see the point in doing it now anyway.
People would know what that means now.
No, yeah. I obtained a copy of it, let's say, Heart of Darkness, and I think that's when I wanted to be a filmmaker, because it was like, this looks like hell, but I'm kind of up for it.
Yeah. So,
not to equate what I make to be Apocalypse Now.
Speaking of content creation, and obviously particularly given the current environment, content creation is quite difficult. Sony just released, just did the launch of the PS5. Are
you going there, Joel?
I'm going there.
Yeah. I was counting. I had got a watch on it. I was looking at it like, oh.
How long will it be before he mentions? Yeah. Well, I just think in terms of a remote piece of content, something that could only be created in our current environment, what they've achieved there is phenomenal.
Yes, I think you and me share the exact same opinion. When it comes to the actual media, like the hour and a half or hour and 15-minute video they put together, I was like, I'm rooting for them anyway, because I'm a PS fanboy.
Fanboy, yeah.
I am a fanboy. I love it. So I was going in there thinking, come on, lads, get going. And I think I spoke to you about this when we were nerding out on WhatsApp. I was saying, mate, like, they're confident. They're really confident, because they were going around all of their influencers.
The influencers, yeah. Exactly.
Like, I follow Shuhei Yoshida, who's like a big player in, like, he used to be head of Worldwide Studios, like the PlayStation guy. I actually met Shuhei. He's a fucking great guy. And he's now head of the indie development. And I firstly saw him going around just putting the two looking eyes you get on the emoji on Twitter and stuff. And he was going around, a load of people just saying, look. And I saw like Jim Ryan, the head of PlayStation, doing exactly the same. So I thought, hang on a minute, we're in for something here. And then, okay, we started going. And I think, again, I was live texting you when it was happening. I was like, are they going to do it, Joe? Are they actually going to do it right now? Are they going to show the console? They're going to fucking do this. And
so, from my perspective, I'm witnessing a marketing masterclass.
Yeah.
Because I've watched all the build-up of the influencers through the day, and what they've done is they've found brand advocates without having to pay for them. They've basically gone to all the leading journalists, all the leading gamers, all the leading esports contestants, and just what they actually did was post the emoji of a pair of eyes. And just to like keep your eyes open type thing, and it created that much buzz in the day that they nearly crashed YouTube. I mean,
it reached fever pitch, and I think that regardless of your opinion on Sony or the way where you think about video games, I would urge anyone to look at that hour and a half or hour and 20-minute piece of video. But let's just say that, and I'm obviously you're looking at it from a marketing point of view, which I put my little finger into that pool every so often when I have to when it comes to my video production. But when it comes to the actual making of the film, when they were intersecting it with these animations and making this hype, and the whole time you're going along and thinking, okay, something's building here, but I'm not quite sure what it is, because it could have ended without them revealing the console at the end, and it could have been like, okay, hoorah, more information coming soon, whatever, but it didn't, and that end 6 minutes, and I've watched it numerous times since. The end 6 minutes when they reveal the console is one of the best produced things I've ever seen. And actually, Joel, I did some research yesterday, so it happens because I'm watching it again on my big monitor. I was trying to find a 4K version of it, but it doesn't exist. And the guy that made it is actually, Sony must have commissioned this guy from a piece of work that they'd seen him make. Because it's a Russian guy who made a short experimental film using the same particle systems and the same tone and everything. And actually Sony, I think, pretty much lifted a cross-section of his film and just put it in their presentation. Obviously, they work together on it. And then obviously you get the cross bit where they actually show the console and it all integrates together. Yeah. But actually, it's this Russian dude. And from my point of view, from like a content creator and also now head of content, whoever the hell saw this guy's work, or maybe it was friends of the company or something, I mean, bravo, hats off to them, because they saw something utterly unique. And I think that's a story I'd love to try and find, actually, how they ended up working together with this guy. And it actually influenced the rest of the presentation. If you look at it closely, all the particle systems at the end influences the whole thing. So when it comes to...
there's visual build and audio build from the first second right to the end, which was why you and I sort of 45 minutes in are saying, I think they're going to actually reveal the console here, because what else could they be building to unless there was like a AAA title that nobody knew about? Hi, Joel and Andy here. Thanks for listening to our podcast. We're loving sharing our marketing tips with you.
If you'd like to kickstart your marketing, why not jump on a discovery call? Simply visit codebreak.co.uk and apply there. Hopefully speak to you soon.
Take care.
Well, they would have been raked over the coals, I think, if they hadn't ended with the console. In hindsight, they would have probably been like, oh, what the hell, guys? Because I think up until that point, from a marketing point of view, I don't think they were... no one was saying PlayStation has been marketing the PlayStation 5 particularly well. I think they had a couple of crappy articles in some magazines, but then again, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, but their lack of marketing was kind of marketing, like them building mystique against the brand.
They did enough to kind of drip feed specs into the market without giving too much away, but then they've already got established kind of brand advocacy because the PS4's done so well.
Another month, I think that people would have been like, Sony doesn't know what they're doing with the PS5, but it came at just the right time. And going back to your original point, though, talking about making content during this time, I mean, what the hell, man? Like, it's crazy hard.
It's unbelievable.
There's a lot of opportunity. Don't get me wrong. There's lots of opportunity. So I can't disclose too much, obviously, about my day job, but one thing I can say is that, last year we did a massive drive, and I was trying to, we were all championing it, top to bottom, everyone was on board to be more authentic in our storytelling. I think, we released lots of films for our awards at work, and every year we do these award films, and they're generally quite glossy, they're very well produced, and they go over very, very well. And the decision was made, actually, to really switch it up last year to make them a bit more authentic. So we're basically co-creating the films with them. So if, let's say, one of the young people is a rapper, and this is true, this guy's a grime rapper, we used his track in his film, and he was like rapping it, kind of in almost like in between cutaways and stuff. And I think that's a really interesting approach. And it's kind of really forced a lot of companies and a lot of marketing agencies, everybody to have to be authentic. I mean, how many people you see on TV that are just doing TV shows in their bed, in their living room, people without makeup on, people with hair everywhere. It's been really interesting to see. At the same time, I think that fatigue is setting in. So there's definitely the next
you've
step.
seen a few of those shows go back to the studio because of that, I think.
Yeah, but I think from a small business point of view, it's made video even more integral to like your marketing strategy. It's not the be all and end all, and people will have you believe that video is the savior that's going to come along and save everything. I think that it's like everything is a tool to be used really well. And much like you guys in Codebreak, you know your tone of voice, and as soon as you've got your tone of voice, you put that into video form, and that's kind of the trick. That's all it is, making sure that you represent yourself how you want to be presented.
Yeah, we really went round in circles with that, because obviously any business, and I imagine this particularly happens to young people when they're first starting a business, they think they have to kind of be ultra professional, and that's actually subjective. One person's view of what makes someone professional is not the same as the next person's view. And actually, if you're authentic and you've got solid morals or solid values, and you can get that across in your content, be that video, be that a podcast, be that social media, that will go a really long way into building your brand.
Oh yeah, putting yourself in front of the brand is one of the biggest things. I think that's the last year or so, that's been a huge thing. So last year we, and again, this is all kind of has gone a bit by the wayside because obviously the current situation we're in, but I made a conscious decision to basically work with young people to, again, co-create our content. So at the awards, I wanted to, I had to do, in my job, you have to do quite a lot of partner films and things that may not be as interesting as the kind of young people stories that I really like telling. So you know, a company will come in and they'll donate a lot of money, and quite rightly, they want representation, and that is a very important brand on brand thing you have to do. That's really important stuff. So I was producing a film at the awards for a big brand that would help sponsor it. And I kind of took a bit of a risk, and I thought, you know what? I've been talking the talk about putting young people into these films. Let's just get a young person to present the whole thing from top to bottom. So she had like a day's worth of media training that was, again, we didn't pay for it because it's charity, but it was actually gifted to us by someone. And yeah, she presented the whole film from top to bottom, which I think, so before that, we tested it out on a brand film internally. We did an internal film that wasn't as high stakes. Actually, it was actually high stakes thinking back, because it was actually about the Prince's Trust went through a whole, not a whole rebrand, but like a soft rebrand, like a brand refresh last year. And we did an internal video to everybody saying, oh, here's the new brand. And actually, looking back, that's quite important. I probably shouldn't have experimented so much on that film, but we used her to tell the story, and then we used her again for this big partner film, and it went really, really well. Like, you take risk, I think you have to probably be relatively experienced behind the camera to get that out of somebody, if they're not used to being on camera or whatever. It's
about like a natural interview technique.
But it's all about that. And what I'm trying to say is, back to your point, is putting yourself in front of the brand. Now, ourselves in front of the brand of the Prince's Trust isn't us. It isn't me saying, whatever. It's the people that actually
are being helped,
and also the people that are helping them. So anyone that's kind of back room, like marketing people or whatever, we've obviously got our own voices and stuff, but the audience doesn't necessarily hear about us. We want to. We want to make sure.
Your director thinks you're a prime candidate for a case study. So.
Well, there is that, yeah. But I think the people that are delivering the stuff, so people that are kind of actually working with young people, they're the kind of stories I want to tell at the moment.
I think that's a really important point in, to give the game away. Part of our content strategy moving forward is that probably 60% of the content will be us, but 40% of the content will be our clients and them talking about how great it is to work with us, because that verifies everything we say. And at the moment, a lot of companies are just shouting about what they do without any kind of verification.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm not speaking, by the way, on any behalf of the trust in any, you know, sense of it. I'm just kind of saying the kind of things that we're dealing with. And from my point of view, it's a very interesting challenge, right? You know, and I love making content where I am at the moment. It's very, very rewarding. But one thing I would say is, on the flip side, I do like, you know, freelance stuff as well. And that's where I've seen the biggest change recently. Because obviously, you know, any company you work for that's relatively big, it's harder to push things through because there's more sign off and all that kind of stuff. And quite frankly, when you're a small company, you're a bit more nimble, aren't you? You know, you can pivot, you can do this, you can do that. Not to say that we're not experimenting.
There's two decision makers in our business.
Yeah, we have very, like, you know, at the trust, I'm very fortunate to work alongside some really talented people. And we're all really up for, like, trying new things, and that's great. When I work with small businesses, that's when I really see the experimentation. And to your point, I've been working with a client who's just doing like he does a car sales business, and I kept saying to him, I was like, mate, you know, these videos you're producing are good, but you need to put yourself on film. You just have to. Like, there's kind of no option right now, and that's kind of the long and short of it. So if you're not confident in yourself to be on camera as a small business, try and find someone who is. Almost make them your kind of quote unquote influencer, like. And that's kind of what I was trying to say anyway, with what I was talking about, that example of that bit of content I made at the top of the year, where I tried this new technique out and it was very well received, using the young person as a presenter. I think that the whole content game is all about experimentation all the time. We're always moving. I'm always trying to find new ways in.
That's a huge thing for us, is that because technology's moved so quickly in the last 4 or 5 years, it's very easy for us to cut together very, very good quality content.
Well, I think using you as an example is quite interesting, because I look at you do live stuff, don't you? Quite often, and you also do like a couple of pre-recorded bits and pieces. But I'd say the majority of your stuff these days is probably live. Is that right?
We do at the moment. We do 2 pre-recorded videos a week, which have 1 edit in, so we know what the edit will be every time, which is brave, I think. And then we do a live Q&A once a week, and we also do ad hoc video direct to Instagram, which is there's no edit. So
that. And I think from my point of view, if you're talking about like what people can do, I think there's quite a lot of in people's heads. There's quite a lot of barriers to video, and there really shouldn't be these days. I mean, the only barrier to video really is if you've got a crappy phone. You know, if you've got a phone in your pocket that can do video recording, you're 80% of the way there. You know, you can get editors on your phone for free. They may be a bit crap, whatever. I think if you start small and just ignore all the noise, and that's a massive thing for me as well, ignoring the noise. Like in my job, in my personal life, my personal creation life, if I was concerning myself with what everybody else is doing, I don't think I'd make anything.
It's a really common human trait as well, that in terms of, we see that with our social media, our video, our podcast, that you could get 99 compliments and 1 negative, and most people would focus on that negative. And
100%, and I think when it comes to when you're choosing to do your video journey, I think there's a lot of pressure to do it. And now this guy that I'm working with at the moment, he's selling the cars. He's doing so much better on his Facebook activity because he's bringing himself in front of the brand, and he's probably doing like 1 video a week. You know, it could be more, sure, but when he does do those films, people look forward to them now, and like he looks forward to seeing them go up, and he notices the uptick in traffic and click-throughs and all that kind of stuff. I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, the only kind of limits to doing video these days is probably, and it isn't, I don't think it's a technical thing. I think you can probably learn stuff on the base level, you can boot up your phone and have a crack at it.
Yeah.
And of course, you're going to, your first video may suck. And you may think, well, why does it suck? Oh, it's because I'm stood in front of a window. Okay, I've learned that now. Or why is the audio so shit? Oh, okay, I've got to get an external microphone. All those kind of things you start learning as you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's some real basics that we talk to clients about. That obviously you've got different grades of video. You've got your daily content, the stuff you'd put on social media. You've got the stuff you'd embed on your website, and then you kind of got the stuff that you would put on a screen at an exhibition. And and the quality in terms of the daily stuff, like you say, you probably need a phone. You probably need a light source, because you'll be surprised how much of a difference that makes. And I mean, now you can get selfie lights for 50 quid. So it's...
Well, I mean, the light sources, I think when I work with young people, I get sent through, and yearly we work with young people. I mean, before lockdown started, when we were relying a bit more on people sending us footage, I used to work on getting user-created footage in every year for the awards. And the amount of stuff that was sent through that was terrible was there's quite a lot of it. But at the same time, there was a surprising amount of good stuff as well.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. So
with actually, they weren't doing much other than just angling a desk light or having a quick think about where they should stand a bit more than just,
So the third thing you probably need is like a little mic, either a clip mic or something you can mount on your phone, just to make sure your audio is on point.
Audio is key.
But the thing is, what business owners don't realise is if they go to their younger members of staff, they're like the selfie generation. They know about selfie lights. They know about audio. Yeah. They know about making sure they're lit from the best angle, because that's the life that they've been brought up in.
I look at my nieces who are like in that demographic of like, I think from one was 14 up to 23, 4. And I think, I look at their content, whether it be pictures or videos, and think, how have you actually done that? Like, you know, I don't know what they're doing. There's some kind of voodoo out there. Apologies if you can hear anything on my mic. My downstairs neighbour has got these yappy little dogs, and they've just given birth. And there's like a whole litter of dogs just like chomping around.
Yapping away.
Yeah, they're pretty cute.
I was going to say, you love dogs. I bet you're absolutely all over that. So.
Yeah, I do like dogs. I feel like a dog shouldn't be the size. If you can fit a dog into, like, I don't know, a purse, is it a dog? I like a dog that's like, you can just roll around with it. It can give you some resistance, you know what I mean? It's going to, it will push back.
I want to be able to play fight with my dog.
Yeah, I want to roll around with it. Yeah, I want to get slobbery with it.
No.
Yeah, so sorry, I don't know going in now. Yeah, I don't know.
I digress.
Yeah. Oh. Yep.
I think that's a really important point, that any size business, sole trader right the way through to big corporates, for your kind of day-to-day content, if you've got a decent phone, a good light source, and a half-decent mic, you should have enough equipment to produce good quality content for that scenario.
Yeah, and I got off a call a couple of weeks ago with a couple of influencers who set up a vegan health channel, and they've got a very dedicated audience. And luckily for them, and actually my brother as well, who full disclosure, he's what I'm doing with the car detailing business. Yeah. They've got a very dedicated audience, but they know their audience very well. I think that is the key. Like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you don't talk to the right audience.
Yeah, who are you talking to?
It's crazy. Like, if I make a video to a partner, I'm not going to be talking the same language as when I'm talking to a young person. It's just not going to work. They want different things.
There's two things on that. So we do that. I like this podcast, my videos, they're for business decision makers, and I know that when I'm talking. But the other element to that is they're for business decision makers that I know I'll be able to work with. So you have to be comfortable that not everybody's going to like what you're doing, and that's okay, because you're creating content
really important,
you'll be able to work with.
Yeah, that's really important. And some of the worst content I've made in my career in all of my, going back all the way back, is when we have to, or I think that I have to appease everybody in the same content.
Yeah.
And if you just say to people, it's not for you, I'll make a second video about you, and that's something that I'm very comfortable in doing in my professional career now. I think you do learn the hard way.
I think it takes like a level of professional maturity to get confident with that, to stand up and say, actually, this is who I am. These are the sort of people I want to work with. And if other people don't want to work with me, I'm okay with that.
So if you start, I think a top tip for me, though, if you were thinking about say if you're a small business, you think, I've listened to this podcast, they've slammed Game of Thrones, they've chatted about PlayStation, and they've given 2% worth of video know-how. Okay, so the 2% you've taken it, you think, you know what? I'm going to make some videos now. I say that what I would say to you is to start, and everything starts small.
Yeah.
If you're selling a product, why don't you make your first video about your sales of the product? But ignore all your other audiences, whether it be fundraisers or funders or staff, or just focus on what your problem is. If you've got a problem you're trying to do, if your marketing is not getting sales in, then that's where you should focus your video. And in that film, it doesn't have to be, again, we talk about Apocalypse Now, it hasn't got to be the Apocalypse Now of product sales. It can be just 30 seconds. It can just be the product on a table. It could be a series of pictures that are strung into a video. I think that, again, the barrier to entry is so low these days. Again, a little bit of I thought before I started joining this podcast, talking about barrier to entry and stuff, I was on my bike ride earlier. I thought, man, the first phones that came out, you could record 10 seconds and that was it. The phone would just shut off. And now we've got these phones with 4K, expandable media.
Yeah.
It's crazy. If you give me one of those phones when I was growing up, I would be, and case in point, Joel, you hit the nail on the head. If you've got younger people around you, reach out to them. Don't take a bash in pride. Just literally ask them,
they don't understand the limits that you're putting on yourself because they've never had them.
Exactly. Oh, that's really well put. Yeah, I'd say reach out to them. I'm going to go when I next see my mum and my nieces and stuff. I'm going to fully ask them about some top tips on some social platform stuff. Just because why not use them as a sounding board?
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything. I certainly don't know everything.
That's a really important thing too. Is that many people in their professions? Obviously, everyone in any profession knows that they don't know everything about their own profession. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
That shouldn't stop you from producing content, because you still know more than the people that you're selling to. Yeah,
and you know more about your business. You may need, again, when we talk about reaching out to people, you may need a couple of sounding boards. The worst thing you can do is get in your own head and think you know what your business is doing.
Yeah.
What you guys do for people, and I don't want this to be a sales pitch for you, but, well, I guess you do, but I guess what is Joel's there saying, oh yeah, don't worry, carry on, Jake. But I guess it's what you guys do. You're an external sounding board, and you can look at things from a third person perspective. Sometimes when you're in the moment, you can't see the wood for the trees. I make music in my spare time. And I think that my music, when I'm mixing it, I think it sounds utter trash. And I go, I hate this. I'm going to throw the record away. It sucks. If I show it to somebody and they say, man, that sounds wicked, I'm like, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's just having that kind of
We encounter this all the time with businesses, in the sense that they take for granted what they do.
Hey everybody, it's Fergus and Jen here. We actually recently noticed that not all of you who are listening to this podcast are actually subscribed.
So why don't you click on the subscribe button so you don't miss out?
Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
So, it might be an accountant, it might be a car dealership, it could be a dentist, and you go and see them and they're like, oh, by the way, when someone's in our waiting room, we give them a PlayStation to play on, or when someone's in our waiting room, there's always biscuits and coffee. Hang on,
where are you getting your car serviced? I want to go to where you're going.
You wait. We know an accountant doing some really cool stuff, but yeah, they take that for granted because they've always done it, and you're like, well, hang on, that's really good marketable content. You're doing things that other people aren't doing, or these little things that you've designed into your business are actually the differentiators, because I could get my car serviced anywhere, but not everywhere I go gives me a cup of tea and a biscuit. It sounds so simple, but actually that kind of warm welcome makes all the difference. And they're the things you need to really focus on with your content is, what are the difference makers?
Yeah, I couldn't put it any better. With my two examples of car detailing and the vegan health people, their unique selling point was they were enthusiasts first. So when it comes to car stuff, he is the client. Like, he is the person that he wants to hear from, which it gets its own set of challenges. Like, sometimes you have to be like, yeah, but you're going too technical. But then he reminds me, yeah, but I'm the one that wants to watch this content. It's kind of hard to argue with that sometimes.
Yeah, you need to, we talk about this. We call it client avatar, but that's a really...
I have no idea what that is. Something about
such
James Cameron, Avatar...
Such marketing speak, but basically, who's your ideal customer? So everyone thinks, particularly small businesses, really get into this mindset that they have to sell to everyone to survive. And it's really, really not true. You need to sell to your ideal customer, and you'll still pick up peripheral sales around the edges. And so for the person you're talking about, he wants the people who don't necessarily have the nicest car, but they really love their car, and they really love it being immaculate, and they like all the dinks and all the little scratches and everything to be polished out. And they're the people that are watching the YouTube videos about how to do that. And they're the people who are buying equipment off eBay that nobody else has. And suddenly you start to really get into the zone. And that's a really important thing for any business. Yeah,
totally. I think there'll be a lot of things that businesses will be doing and they don't even know they're doing it well. I think when it comes to put content back into the situation, all the videos need to do is just exasperate your good points. Because people forget, video is the chance to see and hear you. It's a chance to see. It's a chance to bring make your business into moving pictures. You know what I mean? It sounds simple and silly to even say that, but it is the chance to
It's the whole behind the curtain thing. So okay, what actually goes on here? What's this business really about? What's their passion? Who do they help? How do they help them? All these things that you just take for granted because that's what you've been doing all along.
And again, linking back to what we said about user-created content and how that nowadays it is pretty much the norm to see things not being as polished, I think that what's going to happen is, and what's happening now, is that people are so used to seeing it that it doesn't really matter too much. If your tripod falls over during a take, my advice would be edit it in. Don't leave it out. I guess this is a real corny thing to say anyway, but really just honor your faults and really just lean into them, don't lean away from them. Some of the best content I've ever made has been where things have just gone wrong on set. Where things just don't work, or someone says something really rubbish and everyone laughs, or again, I had one time I was filming with the Farmers Union, so I used to work for the Farmers Union as well before the British Trust. A cow came along and stole the microphone of someone. How am I not going to edit that in? I'm definitely leaving that in the shot. There's no way I'm not.
It injects personality.
Yeah, and I think that the more of that you have, and obviously you can't force it. Jesus, the amount of things I see out there that are so forced and horrible.
Or you've got where I go wrong, and suddenly my language becomes quite fruity and my behaviour becomes quite aggressive. Nobody needs to see that.
Or maybe you can do a supercut where you're just swearing for 10 minutes when things don't go wrong in your takes. It's but that's the thing is that's another content idea. If I mean, like, again, using you as an example, if you're filming a film and you're like, it's just not going well for whatever reason, you keep on messing up and you keep going, oh, fuck, or whatever, you could just bleep, do a bleep
just
track.
do an end of the week bleeper reel, like a blooper reel with beeps all over the swearing, so just beep 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 beep.
I do think the elephant in the room, though, I think with small businesses and, well, let's just say particularly small businesses, let's just keep down that route for the moment, is resource. I think that it is time. I mean, it is time consuming. There's no way around it. You're taking like a nice chunk of your day to sit down and chat some crap to me, but it still takes a while. Then you've got to edit this thing and you've got to market it. So by the time you've done that, it's half a day's work. And the rest, right? And so don't beat yourself up about that. Like, I think you have to be realistic that it is going to it is a learning curve and a time sink, and you might have to do things out of hours. But the payoff is that it is. I mean, I'm biased, but it is quite fun. Like, I think if you're dealing with, like, let's just say, I don't know why I'm using this, sorry to any accountants that might be listening, but if you're an accountancy firm, I mean, to me, that's like the kind of thing I cannot do accounts. I just don't understand numbers. So by default, that's the most boring thing I can think of for me personally.
One of our main clients is an accountant.
Oh my God. Well, I hope he's going to listen to this.
He's going to
unsubscribe now, isn't he?
Oh, it's all good. They'll prove you wrong. All I'm saying is that if they made content, maybe because it's so different to what they're doing as a day job, it can be quite fun because it's still helping the business, but it's just a different thing to do. That's why rather than looking on accountants. Interestingly, and this is a good point that you've brought up. Their content is all about the personalities behind the business. So they basically want to show, accountancy is number crunching, and we're fine with that. Yeah. This is who we are. This is what we're about behind the business. These are our values. These are our interests. This is what we do as a company. This is why we're a great business.
That's a really good example. Yeah. That's really important.
And I really like that about them. I mean, they've just bought an office, this accountancy practice we're talking about. And their office is like a flexible working space. So rather than kind of going corporate and doing the whole like bean bags and
lava lamps.
They've gone down the route of they've kind of put a bar at one end of the office, and they've launched their own beer. Not many accountants do that.
Now we're talking. So all right,
they've put a pool table and dartboard in at that end of the office, so it literally is like a pub at one end of the office.
In the
middle section of the office, nobody has a set desk. You just come in, clip your laptop in, and work wherever there's a space, which I really like as well. And then the front end,
shared desk.
And then the front end of the office, where they're welcoming customers in, there's a waiting area, and you can hop onto like a games machine and play games whilst you wait for your meeting. Who's doing that?
It's cool. I mean, they've got a wealth of things to market when it comes to video there, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. And they know that. Like, it's not that they've just blindly gone, we want a really nice office. What will make our business better in the long term for our staff and our customers and give us content?
Yeah. I think brass tacks though, like, when we talk about, let's just say a starting business or someone that's doing everything, if you're like someone that's there and you've got, either it's yourself on your own or if you've got somebody else that you're working with, like it can be really daunting, and I think that don't beat yourself up about it. Like, it's all about, like, you can spend 50 quid and you'll be set. Like, you'll be set for video creation if you've got a phone. Like, you really will be. Like, if you want to go pro, you can spend £10 on an app, which means you can lock focus, you can change aperture, you can do all these crazy things with £10. You can get a tripod, just a desk tripod for 10 quid. You can get a couple of lights for like, I generally believe if you spend £50, you can get a setup that's going to make your content stand up above the next guy that's going to come.
Yeah, you'll be better than 9 out of 10 businesses.
Yeah, and that's all it's going to take. And I think it's all about just like thinking about who you are, and it just takes a bit of exploration. Really.
And being brave enough to be yourself.
Oh man, you know what? That is the biggest thing. I mean, look, when I make music or whatever, I do like to, and this is again, I sound like a freaking Hallmark advert right now, but it is all about like bringing a bit of yourself to like anything you make.
Yeah.
And it links back to what you said about your business, and you made a conscious decision years ago to put yourself in front of the brand. And I make music, and some of the best music that I make are the ones where I'm a bit of a raw nerve. It sucks. Like, I don't necessarily like writing it and putting myself out there too much, but the response that I get back is way more than if I don't put myself into the product.
If there's a little bit of you in it, one, you're passionate and protective about it, which is a really important element. But two, other people kind of, by seeing that vulnerability, they realise that you're human, you're a real person, that you're not like some kind of polished corporate robot.
Second guessing yourself is the worst, man. I mean, look, I go through all of the emotions you can ever go through being a creative. Like, I think I forgot what it was. I think I saw something on social media on one of like a video channel I follow with like, you get really excited about the idea to begin with, then you scope out how much it's going to do, how much it's going to take to fulfill that idea. So then you go back to the drawing, then you go back to the original idea and you scale it down. Then you do the scaled down version of that idea. Then you look back and then go, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. You edit it and go, this sucks, this sucks. You release it and go, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I read about that yesterday. People talking about Project Slip, where their original vision and what they produce are miles apart because they listen to too many people.
I think everything I've ever made will never be the thing that I've scoped. No way. Like,
yeah, but equally, you don't let too many voices in.
No, I don't think. I guess not. I mean, but I mean, that's a topic in its own right. I mean, co-creation is a huge thing. And actually something that I've opened myself up to a couple of years ago. I think since joining the trust, I think, and being a part of a bigger picture. Like so. For example, at the Farmers Union, I loved working there. Really great guys. Really enjoyed my time there. But it was more traditional in the sense that you kind of got a brief and you work on it and you're done. And then, every so often I'd get some ideas through and they'd love it and I'd feel really great about myself. And some of the best work I had there was just coming up with ideas, either chatting to farmers. It sounds weird talking about, but chatting to farmers who would tell me how they feel about stuff, almost like a mini focus group. But if I'm out on shoot, I just chat to them with a cup of tea, and they would say, "Oh, I wish that we could say thank you to the customers for buying our products." And this was going back to the horse meat scandal, right? God, that feels like the glory days, doesn't it? Of like problems that we're in right now. But the horse meat scandal was when I joined the Farmers Union, and I was brought on initially for 6 months to a year to solve a problem, to try and essentially, I don't want to use the word capital
behind UK farming. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word capitalise because that's not what it is. But I guess in a roundabout way, it was to capitalise on the fact that some meats were brought into the country that weren't British, and the actual British provenance was the best. So there was definitely a need for me to be there. I then stayed there for 4 years. But some of the best content I made there was like, for example, that one, this guy said to me, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could say thank you?" So then I told my bosses, and the next thing you know, I'm traveling around the country, getting thank you messages of people saying, "Thanks for buying my milk, thanks for buying my beef, whatever." In hindsight, though, I thought about this product the other day. The way that I produce it now would be to be asking the farmers to send in their own footage. I wouldn't be having to travel around the country for 2 months, which it literally took me 2 months traveling around the country in between other projects to go and film all these different people. Whereas now I can literally just say, just WhatsApp me your film, mate.
Yeah.
Just chuck it on a Dropbox, pal.
I mean, that's another thing entirely, isn't it? It's so accessible now.
Yeah, and that was an early example of me dipping my toe into crowdsourcing. So I crowdsourced all the footage, albeit I was still there directing it, and I was still there I had an overall vision of how I wanted it to go. And that's what you sometimes can't get when you try and crowdsource footage over WhatsApp and stuff. You kind of sometimes have to be there to direct it, regardless. that's my first foray into it. And you know, those guys over there, you know, like I said before, like now at the Trust, we've got a much bigger team. It's a much bigger national team, and everybody's got good ideas, really. I mean, and because, you know, I'm sat in the national team, sometimes you don't hear about what's actually going on when it comes to like operations, delivery, and all these kind of things. So I would be a fool not to listen. And actually, when I'm making a project, I generally speak to the people that I'm working with and say, is that right? So if I write this question down, or if I make this video this way, is it correct? Like, is that exactly how you feel about the subject? Or is that how it, and they might say, no, I would never say that. Young people are not going to respond to what you just said there. And you have to kind of just go, fine, that's absolutely fine. And I don't know how you feel about this, but you shouldn't be wedded to your ideas fully. I think there's always got to be 20%, 30% worth of flex. And whether it's me being like an idiot, I don't know, I haven't worked this out yet. But when I go to that, I don't storyboard things fully. I never have done. I write down my key shots. So I made a short film a couple of years ago. I wrote down my key shots, how I wanted to get to. How I got there, I kind of made up.
Yeah. Well, we do that even with short videos for content. Just stick a few bullet points on a flipboard and put it behind the camera. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work all the time, especially when you're working on a project that's got a lot of stakeholders, and you do have to storyboard things out, and you have to get that signed off before you start rolling the camera. And when you're talking about, like, if we work with an external agency, they would never do that, because obviously when they hit the ground recording, we're spending money on that by the hour, exactly. Right? But for me, I've always been fortunate enough to kind of give 20-30% worth of flex in everything that I make, and I think for the better for it. And it comes again when we're talking about mistakes that happen. I mean, they're the best. Like, things that happen organically in anything are the best. And I think co-create stuff, co-create things.
It wasn't marketing content, but you and I worked together on a short film. I don't know how long ago it was now.
Was that in my dad's garage?
Yeah.
I mean, that is a perfect example of just being belt and braces about it.
Yeah, and like, you know, you had a storyboard, you had ideas around what we were going to do, but then environmental factors on the day meant we had to flex. And some of the stuff that between, I think there was 3 of us on the day. Yeah,
it was 3, wasn't there? Yeah.
Came up with was awesome because of the environmental factors.
I think it's one of my proudest projects, that, actually. And I think, you know, I shot a music video in a garage and your office.
Yeah.
And I love the end result of that film. I borrowed a smoke machine of someone.
That's my favourite shot in the whole thing.
I loved it.
How we did the lighting with that smoke.
And all that was, you know, was surrounding yourself with people that are enthusiasts. Like, you were an enthusiast because I think at the time, you know, you really wanted to kind of change direction and be more hands-on and creative things. And I think you I don't know, putting words in your mouth, but I think maybe you were just really missing having a bit of creative outlet. And so, you know, get on board. Plus, I knew you were a safe pair of hands because, you know, you'd done some photography. I think you shot a lot of it for me, didn't you? You shot like
because obviously we had someone on board who basically knew how to operate a camera really well. But equally, you're good behind the lens, but you needed to be in front of the camera.
Yeah, for that instance, I had to be in front of the camera.
But you needed someone who could hold the shot, basically, understood the composition of what you're trying to do.
Luckily for you, though, I'm quite short. Well, I'm extremely short, and you're taller than me, so you didn't have to really stretch your arms too much.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, when I film for the Farmers Union, they're like 7 foot tall, and I'm like
on a crane.
Yeah. And also with that particular example, we turned up to my dad's garage with no prep. Like, I really wanted it to be organic in there, and it certainly bloody was. And then we roll the smoke machine at the end of the film. I knew the end shot was the most important shot to get right. And I got this guy who used to work at the Farmers Union with Toby, who really wanted to learn how to light for film. Yeah. And that's how he made it. Like, Joel, you wanted to learn how to film. more film. Toby wanted to learn how to be a bit of a director of photography. And I really wanted to learn like more production, like kind of small scale, no budget production stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't have to learn that because that's why I grew up doing it. But I really wanted to make a personal project. And for me, I couldn't have worked it with anybody that wasn't outside of my friendship group because it was too personal.
Yeah. And I don't think people, and they'd know that now, but they wouldn't have known that at the time.
No, I don't know, man. It's this whole journey of like content creation. It's been quite nice to reminisce about some of it, actually. It's been.
Yeah. No, I've really enjoyed it. So what are your key takeaways from our chat?
I think, well, my key takeaways is it's really hard to kind of, it's hard to kind of summarize, but I guess for me, there's two things really. And I think that I'd like to try and address two audiences really. A, if you're thinking about getting into video and video production, whether it be in any capacity, let's just say a creative field, let's say, it doesn't have to be video, it could be anything, graphics.
Yeah.
My main takeaway is just do stuff. Don't sit around and go, I haven't got experience. Go and get experience by just taking your camera or booting up your machine, making projects, and even making fake projects. Like, I know so many people, like the guy that we chatted about before, he works in video games. He used to sit there and make fake video game covers because he wanted to break into the industry, and that's what got him a job. I used to make these short stories and short music videos and my music production, and that's what got me a job. It wasn't because I had a massive, I had better credits to my name. Quite the contrary, I had fuck all credits to my name when I got my first proper corporate job, but they saw that I was active. So that's what I would say on the first one is if you're looking to get employed or start, you want to start your career, just do stuff right now, which can be daunting, but I think there's, like we said, it's accessible. Mm-hmm. Which leads me on to my second point would be if you're a small business owner thinking about using video as a medium, or you're thinking about changing your video, again, the message is quite simple. Again, it's just to try it, just do it. But the barrier to entry has now been lifted. We're not talking about going and having to find DV tapes. We're not talking about going to having to, get a crew together. And quite frankly, I'm all about demystifying the process of video creation.
Yeah.
Like whether it's me being an idiot and actually, my side hustle. I do a paid gig as a side hustle, but I'm always open and honest. And I think a lot of companies back in the day used to make their money because they used to make the process really confusing. It's not as confusing as you think. Yes, it is technical. Yes, it can be challenging. And yes, when you start to get into the weeds of it, you start talking about lighting and sound and all that kind of stuff. Just ignore that to begin with. Don't bother with it. Make it look, use your natural environment. So if you've got a room that looks okay, how do you make it a bit more interesting? Just ask yourself where the light source is. Ask yourself where's best going to be for audio. And it really is just try and learn.
Yeah.
And you don't have to publish every video you make. You could record a video on your phone, look back at it and go, why does this sound terrible? And just reach out to someone and say, why is my audio bad? And someone might be able to tell you,
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I'd say.
Awesome. Jake Buchanan, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you. Cheers.
All right, take care, dude.
Ta-ra.